each and every time we set a goal. It could be our intention or resolution, and we don't follow through. So whenever you want to do something and you don't do it, the resistance is what's keeping you from it.
Hi there, Adrian here, and this is a video from a Zoom session that we do. We do these Zoom sessions every Sunday, and we take questions and answers from the audience, some of our students, some of our members. We never know what questions are coming up, so I'm always excited to do these sessions, and I hope to see you at one of them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below and check out the other playlists that we have. Thank you, enjoy.
The resistance, and talking about how we use it, how it stops us from doing what we want. And I've put that together with some of the other psychological things that we talk about. So in here, so what you need to understand is I'm going to start with a story. Most of you know I had my wellness center. Most of you here, I think, know me, or you've seen, I just talked about it. Let me tell you a bit about resistance. I am really a social introvert. I love people, but I'm actually introverted. All the studies say it. I am very good with people. I'm very good at networking. I can seem very extroverted, but I'm actually introverted. I don't like a lot of attention. Really never have. Even at a party, I like to be on the sidelines having small conversations, right? I used to sing and perform, and I didn't like all the attention, so I even quit that for a while, many years actually. When I had my center, I really, really worked hard because I did not want it to be about myself. I was resisting that. I didn't want it to be an exercise in ego. I didn't want it to be something that was all about me. I really wanted it to be a community, and I wanted it to be a hub for coaches. And so I spent pretty much most of the time I had my business coaching coaches, helping them with their business, helping them figure out how they're going to put their presentations together, figuring out how to tailor to the market audience. During COVID, I had coaches calling me crying every week. That is not a joke, including like coaches who've coached for a long time, because it was rough. And in this time, in the first 6 months of my business, I had one session, one course. That's it. Because I was so busy getting all the other coaches to have their sessions, and I wasn't doing my own. And finally, one of the coaches who spoke last month, Tian Tian, who's a good friend of mine and actually was my employee for a short while, and now is a very good friend, she kind of said, with maybe some slight profanities, that I needed to just get in front and do my own thing. And I had resisted it. I mean, that's how hardcore I resisted it. I opened my own business and basically had everybody else coaching and doing the stuff. And I worked on the stuff behind the scenes because I was resisting it that much. In COVID, I started coming to the forefront. I started doing more talks. I started a show because I was asked, and everything got better. It wasn't enough to save the business, but it was enough to actually allow things to transition to be okay. So when I started looking back, I'm like, why did I not do this? Why did it take me so long? Right. And I started really researching resistance, researching fears, and looking at all of that. Plus the fact that I was in Shanghai through the Great Lockdown, which, if you were in Shanghai, anybody here who was in Shanghai during the lockdown, if you do, you can just put in the chat, I was here. That's all you need to say. I was here. Because if you were here, you know it's different than anybody else. Even people in Beijing, y'all don't know. It was rough. And so during that trauma, a lot of fears came up for a lot of people. Yep. Elaine, I was here both too. Although I did hang out in Thailand for like a month and a half during the first one. Matthew, yep, you were here. So, you know, during that time, you had no choice but to confront a lot of fears because they were there. There was no way to get around it. And I think that all of my fears, all of my deepest fears, all hit at pretty much the same couple of years. During that time, all these fears came to surface, and it really helped to understand, you know, what it was that was holding me in the way. I had no choice but to confront those. And now I'm really helping a lot of people to confront their resistance as well. All right. So resistance is what stops us each and every time we set a goal. It could be our intention or resolution, and we don't follow through. So whenever you want to do something and you don't do it, the resistance is what's keeping you from it. All right. And I love this quote. It's the conversation we have in our head. It can be the kind of mood we're in or how we're feeling. We don't want to let our moods run our life, but we want our commitments to. So here's the thing. Resistance is very tricky. And we're going to talk about it because you might have resistance and you're not even aware of it, which is why we're going to talk about awareness. All right. So here are some common things. So go ahead and write down the ones that you do. Right? Maybe some of you are going to have a hand that gets tired, but these are the things. Most of us do a lot of this on a regular basis. One is avoidance, like you guys said, where you're consciously or unconsciously avoiding things. You could be avoiding conversations. This is why people ghost people, because you're resisting the difficult conversation, which is a sign of emotional immaturity, but it's another thing. Procrastination, right? Delaying doing things, like you said, getting a cup of coffee instead of having the conversation. Denial, refusing to acknowledge that you have a problem or that there is a problem or any of this is also. So you can even deny your resistance, which is also a form of resistance. It's kind of ironic, but true. Defensiveness. This is what you have been talking about, Rebecca. This is when you're actually becoming defensive. Maybe your partner says, "Hey, are you okay? Are you going to make your deadline?" And you're like, "I'm fine," and you get the. That's also a form of resistance. Selective memory, forgetting things. Now, this can be conscious or unconscious. Have you ever had something that you really didn't want to do and then you forgot about it? It could even be something like an appointment on a Sunday morning when you want to have your day off. Like, this is something that is a form of resistance. This can happen. Anger, we talked about that. Rewriting history. You can distort your memories to kind of protect your ego. This is something that happens. We want to rewrite our memories in a positive light, but we want to do it with intentionality. But sometimes we will actually rewrite them in a way that helps us to resist the things that we want to do. Right? Perfectionism. That's one that Matthew had said in our group, where you have high standards. You want to make sure everything is perfect, or you think everything has to be perfect to do something. This is very common in the coaching fields. I see this a lot. It can also lead to things like imposter syndrome, which I've talked about before in other places. Overthinking, ruminating excessively and avoiding taking action. This is where you're sitting down and you're not taking action because you feel like you have to have everything thought through, or you just keep going in your head over and over again. That's another form of resistance because it's not taking action. And then self-sabotage. This I would say is a higher level, right? I think this is when you've done these things. It's where you're actually sabotaging something to avoid it. So it could be that you want to have a difficult conversation and you know you need to have one with a really good friend, but you ghost them, which of course makes things worse. And then the conversation now will be worse. And you keep going and doing it until it gets to the point where you sabotage the relationship and you're not going to be friends anymore. This happens a lot. But there's more, because we're really good at this. We can avoid intimacy, avoid getting close to people. That's a form of resistance. Fear of change. You mentioned that. Darko was saying, A lot of times resistance is coming when change is a part of your next step, right? So we resist that, we resist the unknown, and then the fear is actually triggering it. We can blame others, we can escape. This is the Netflix, right? Or drinking, or smoking. I want to work, but I'm going to take a break every 10 minutes to smoke, or vape, or whatever it is you do. Cynicism, skepticism. You can reject, oh, maybe I just don't even need to do this because it's never going to work anyway.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.